Welcome back to Rated Radio with your hosts, Rayburn Alexander and Shane Wyndham. Shane, what's going on in your world?
Well, I got my first round of the COVID vaccine. No words for the amount of relief that's given me. Otherwise, I'm just tinkering, getting ready to cause more entertaining chaos for our listeners. What about you?
Well, I'm finding new ways to distract myself while working from home. And I guess that means that the creative juices are flowing, so I'd call that a win.
But you are working.
I am working. So it's just difficult being in a house with the parents are staying with me for a while because of my dad's accident at work. And I cannot tell you how many times I've had to shoo my mom out of my office because she just thinks she can come in and show me whatever random video she finds on Facebook that week. So,
well, congrats again on the job, if nothing else.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But enough about us. What do you say we roll this intro?
I'm down. So, I let you pick a list this week. What did you come up with?
I love that you said you let me pick a list this week.
Well, I meant I'm normally a dick who is like, oh, I would give you a list this week, but I already had a great one in mind, so maybe
yes.
Next time. Yeah.
Yes, Shane let me pick the top 10 list this week, and the top 10 list that I chose was top 10 one-hit wonders.
Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and start us off?
All right, my first wonder is Brandy, You're a Fine Girl by Looking Glass. Apparently, Spotify informed me in my Wrapped 2020 that this was one of the top songs played for me for last year. So, hey, apparently Brandy's a fine girl.
It's one of those songs. I know I've heard it, but I have trouble remembering what it is. It's so bad, and I see the title a lot, much more than you would expect. But anyway,
I completely forgot that this song existed. And then I'm a big fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and this was very apparent in the Volume 2 of Guardians of the Galaxy. So it just kind of re-sparked my joy for this song.
Well, I'll check it out.
All right.
Along with the rest of your list, I'm sure.
Nah, what's first on your list?
It's a song called I Miss You by Aaron Hall. My list was designed around the stories, so if I made a true selection of favorites, they'd probably all fall into this category of 90s R&B, but I had to get at least one on here. Went with this one because it's a reminder of how much coping our minds do in advance of tragedy. I've loved this song since the first time I heard it, always knowing that eventually I'd relate to it far more than I ever cared to. Much like Hall's own relationship to this song, I'm hearing a lot more these days than something so simple as a breakup. I will
have to listen to that.
What's next for you?
Fooled Around and Fell in Love by Elvin Bishop. This is another Guardians of the Galaxy song that I had heard growing up, but I forgot even existed. Yeah, except this was in Volume 1, so for all you Guardians of the Galaxy fans, you know exactly what song I'm talking about.
I'm not going to be surprised if every song that you say gets front-loaded with this. This was also in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, for people that know me, you know I'm a huge movie person, and I can fucks with a good, solid movie soundtrack. And Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and 2 are just so good.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Since we're on this topic. How do you feel about superhero movies and shows at this point?
I tend to stay away from the TV shows. Superhero movies, I have been very satisfied with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as have a lot of people. I've been a little disappointed in DC, but we're not going to get into that. But I stay away from the TV shows for the most part. I think the last superhero show that Blue and I watched was Flash, and we didn't even finish it. But I will say, there's a show called The Boys that's technically a superhero show. Kicks so much ass. It gives me so much Watchmen vibes because it's so dark.
Yep, so that's the one I've kind of been getting into which is surprising because I'm burnt the fuck out on superhero films and shows.
Has your son gotten into any of that yet?
Superhero stuff?
Yeah.
He likes to wear Spider-Man pants, but I don't think he has any idea what Spider-Man is.
Okay.
I bought him some cartoons that are superhero themed, but he doesn't really get into it unless it's got a lot of music. So even the kung fu and stuff, which he normally loves, there's not music set to it. So he just kind of doesn't pay it any attention, but he still loves his Spider-Man pants.
He loves PJ Masks. That's a superhero show, so that counts.
Yep.
But I will say, if I had to like pick any superhero like universe or anything that I would probably, it would match my personality, it would probably be like Guardians of the Galaxy, like that goofy, really colorful, very music influenced like type of superhero movie. That's my jam. That's what I'm about.
Rock on.
So anyway, good question. What's your next pick?
It's Lost in Your Eyes by Debbie Gibson.
No.
This pick stems from my sister's love of the Welcome to the Dollhouse film. There's a scene in the movie where this song plays, and I've always thought it was one of the funniest things ever. Used to really despise the film because I didn't want to believe that people could be so unreasonable when it came to attraction, but my sisters seemed to love the bully character. Took me a long time to get it, but I think I finally do. It's not that girls want you to be a douche. Most just like humor, unpredictability, and a bit of mystery as to whether or not you want them in return. Bonus points if you're a genuinely nice guy beneath the rest of that. Anyway, recently bought the film on Prime Video, so it's been on my mind.
Well, since we're talking about more films, leading into my next pick, it's not Guardians of the Galaxy, but it is Coneheads. This is Tainted Love by Soft Cell. Another thing I will say about this song, other than it being underappreciated and probably some people would say overplayed because it falls into the category of classic 80s jams that people forgot about. Anyway, the Marilyn Manson version kicks so much ass. I cannot say that enough.
Agreed. His covers are the shit. I like that movie too. Pretty underrated and forgotten, I think. But
I watched it a lot growing up, and I mean, obviously, you know, with my dad's humor, and I was a huge SNL fan growing up. So any SNL movie like Wayne's World and Coneheads, and even, I mean, I'm trying to think. What was that one with nobody? Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. What was that one that had the character that nobody knew if it was a guy or a girl? Do you know what I'm talking about?
The movie?
Yeah, it was a character that originated on SNL, and then... Pat, yes. Oh my god. Yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah.
I don't even know how I know that, so...
Pat! I'm like so proud of you right now. Everything you say later on in the episode is not going to be able to hold a candle at the fact that you knew what the hell Pat was. So, anyway, enough of my tangent. You go ahead.
Next pick for me is Control by Tracy Lords. This song's mentioned in my novel, and I want to explain how it pertains to my real-life experience with it. There's an instrumental version of this featured in the Mortal Kombat film, and Monty, one of the kids who lived in the trailer park with me way back in the late 90s, used to run around with me. People thought he was slow, but I'm pretty sure he was just on the spectrum. Fun dude who'd get really lost in games, movies, and music. Clearly, I had some of that in common with him. But he had this whole choreographed martial arts routine he loved doing while playing this song. Heavily inspired by the fight scenes in the Mortal Kombat film. Some things just stay way too vivid in our memories. By the way, I recently found out my mom thinks I'm on the spectrum. She just threw that out there on Christmas Eve like it was no big deal.
Okay. Well, don't know what to say about that, but I will say about your story, it is a damn shame that moments like that only get to exist in our memories, because we grew up in an age where, you know, video recording wasn't super popular. You know, like people putting stuff up on the internet wasn't super popular. Yeah. So every time you tell stories like that, I always think, God, I wish I could have seen what actually went down, because you're just tickled to death And I will
I
forever
wonder,
know.
sometimes I think about, like, if you got back in touch with some of these people, who just showed up at random and started, like, playing this song, would he still do the dance and shit? Anyway.
One can only hope.
What's your next pick?
My next pick is I Melt With You by Modern English.
That's a good one.
Here's another movie for you, and I can't say this enough. Valley Girl. The Valley Girl soundtrack is amazing. And this is what I think of every time that I think of this song. It's a great, great song. Highly underrated. All of these songs are a little underrated in my opinion because some of these bands had so much more to offer, but they never quite reached that level of success that they got with these one-hit wonders. So that's a damn shame.
One of the things I think about now when I hear that song title is there's a movie called I Melt With You. It's about 4 dudes who made a suicide pact.
Okay.
And yeah, oh my God, it's very, very dark. So a little different than the song, but it gives you a different perspective when you hear it.
Yeah,
anyway,
maybe just watch Valley Girl instead
Yeah,
if you don't
Valley
want to go
Girl
to that dark place.
I will support that. It's a great film.
What's your next pick?
Next for me is My Boo by Ghost Town DJs. Friday Night Live. Lord help me if this song ever makes me think of anything other than Friday Night Live. For the majority of humans who have no clue what I'm talking about, Friday Night Live was like a giant party for preteens that used to happen at the Civic Center in my hometown of Denton, Texas. They'd take this big circular building and tarp it off into 3 sections. One for food and drink, one for sports and weird-ass activities, and one for dancing. The place would be lit up like cosmic bowling, but with smoke machines, strobes, and such. If this sounds like entirely too much fun for preteens to be having, that's because it was. Used to love skating rinks, arcades, mini-golf parks, movie theaters, swimming, etc., but not a damn thing ever compared to Friday Night Live. School was done for the week, and so long as you had the $5 or so to get in, you could sing and dance with friends to your heart's content. You never knew who might show up or how the night was going to go. This shit outright spoiled my sense of fun at a young age, and if I had a time machine, going back to just one of these nights would be a mandatory stop. And this song I associate with Friday Night Live very heavily.
Aw, that's nice. It's nice that you got to do things like that.
Yeah.
I never got to do things like that.
Sorry, Milford girl.
It's all right. They scrimped and scrounged every penny just to give us a prom. So I think I went to a father-daughter dance once, and my dad was dog sick the entire time. So other than that, yeah, we didn't do much. I'm going to go hang out at the park. Anybody want to come with me is the equivalent to our fun get-togethers.
You could still have a lot of fun in the country. I did spend some years in a country town, and I thoroughly enjoyed that too. I think you have to have a sense of adventure to, I'm not saying you were a kid. You weren't really in charge. I was just spoiled.
I'm going to say that I saved
trailer park spoiled.
I'm going to say that I saved all of my adventure from when I got to those teenage years and started having sex. So it was really boring up until that point.
Next pick. Eject.
My next pick, Shane will not be surprised, is In a Big Country by Big Country. I think of fond memories playing guitar, hero, not rock band, with my cousins that I love so much and all of the get-togethers that we would have and all the good times that were had. So In a Big Country by Big Country, no matter how much shit I get for it, it will always take me back to a very, very happy time in my life with good people.
Really good song too, so I'm not going to give you any shit.
This is that Rayburn shit that she would listen to, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It is. My last pick here is Wanna Be a Baller by Lil Troy.
Ah, nice.
I shared a few marijuana stories on the Semi-Friendly podcast, or Semi-Friendly podcast, however you want to say it. But here's one I left out. One of our family friends, who we'll call Cheeseburger today, was among those who Codes used to depend on for his financial well-being. And back before Cheeseburger got on that glass dick, tried stabbing everyone in our apartment, these two used to make for the strangest combination. I want to say they once got geeked and drove from Justin to like downtown Dallas to score a fuck ton of Jack in the Box tacos. It's actually because of their stoner shenanigans that I stopped leaving the house while I was high. Once you're doing 20 on the highway, but think you're flying at like 80, you learn to stay put. Anyway, some strangers showed up at the Yellow House one day, and everyone talked me into smoking out in this Suburban that they had. They said I had to peep the thing's sound system, and they swore not to go driving off anywhere. So we got really fucking blazed to this Lil Troy song, and the dudes made good on their word. The vehicle never left the yard. But just as I'm letting myself get into the groove, they start hitting switches in this thing real goddamn hard. Safe to say, I never want to experience that again, because yes, I'm a puss.
Well, I can neither agree nor disagree with that statement, so I'm just going to shut up.
Shall we talk about music?
Yeah, let's talk about music.
Specifically an artist.
Yeah.
So who's up first?
Our first artist that we covered was Nirvana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We hit the big time.
I know. And I fully intend to piss someone off that's a fan of either artist that we covered this week. So let's move on. The first album that we covered by Nirvana was Bleach from 1989. This was my bottom pick.
This was also my bottom pick.
I gave it 1 5.
2 5s.
My top track was Mr. Mustache.
My top track was Blue.
And my bottom track was Floyd the Barber.
My bottom track was Mr. Mustache, but I did struggle with Floyd the Barber.
Okay. All right.
And I think that kind of speaks to my bottom being your top. This is going to appeal to different people in different places.
Yeah.
What I wanted to say is this gives me a heavy shot of nostalgia, but I'm not crazy about the production. Mm-hmm. The repetition and screeching feedback, great on me in spite of the band's talent. Not bad, just not something that fits any mood I'm ever in. Mm-hmm. Feels like running on a treadmill while intoxicated. Very unique sound, though.
What I wanted to say about this album is I thought it was much more punk sounding. It almost sounds like a completely different vocalist. It sounds very different from Cobain's signature sound and style. So I think that's one of the reasons why it fell in my bottom. It's just not, when I think of Nirvana, this is not what I think of.
Yeah, I love the cover. Really does remind me of Beavis and Butthead. You know, it's just the perfect fit. But this does have more in the way of Pantera vibes almost. Yeah. I hate to say that because Pantera is super heavy, but yeah, this was pretty hardcore as far as punk goes.
Speaking of Beavis and Butthead, you will be so proud of me. Guess who has started to watch Beavis and Butthead from the beginning?
Really now?
I'm not disappointed, and I find myself going back and watching these stupid-ass episodes.
What brought this on?
If I'm being honest, insomnia. It was right before I started my new job, and for some weird reason, I could not sleep. I don't know if it was anxiety or, just worrying about if I was, going to get the job or whatever. I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning, could not sleep. The whole house is dead. And I'm like, okay, what am I going to watch? It came down to Viva La Bam or Beavis and Butthead. And I wanted to get more familiar with what in the hell you loved so much about them. Mm-hmm. So I started it from the beginning. And yeah, does not disappoint. Although the first 2 episodes both feature Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
So I guess they didn't have a lot of variety in those early episodes.
They were in the film too, or at least.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm having trouble remembering off the top of my head. What bugs me about, I don't know where you're watching, but if you say buy them, if you bought the DVD best ofs, or if you're buying it on Prime, you don't get the music videos that they used to show alongside. You just see the main cartoon.
Yeah.
And I really loved that portion. That's why when you get to season 4, the newer season, they actually have those music videos in it. It feels so good.
I mean, I'm watching it to where you see the music videos. I mean, it's not the music videos in its entirety. It's like chopped, but they're reacting to it and commenting on it.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay. So you're seeing what you're supposed to see. That's good.
Yeah.
Let's talk some more about Nirvana.
Yeah, sorry. The next album that we covered by Nirvana was Nevermind from 1991. This was my top album.
This was my top album.
I gave it 6 5s.
6 5s.
Wow. Yeah, this is not going to last long. I'm just trying to enjoy it.
Okay.
My top track is Something in the Way.
In Bloom.
My bottom track was Endless Nameless.
Lounge Act. I actually gave Endless Nameless a 5. It is one of the strangest things you will ever hear.
Probably why I didn't dig on it. You know me, I'm a basic bitch over here.
Well, when we get into the third album, they talked about how they wanted to take it down a notch and focus on the 2 different varieties of sound that they have. And I think Endless Nameless really just hits the nail on the head. You get both extremes. And I do mean you get both extremes.
Yeah. What I want to say about this album is this is classic Nirvana. Leaned into more of the alternative grunge sound, and in this album Cobain really shines, and you can tell because it's probably, I would say, the album that they're most known for. Would you agree?
I would definitely agree.
You want to hear something super disturbing?
Sure.
The baby on the album, Spencer Eldon. It's almost 30.
Yeah, that actually makes me feel good. I don't know why. I want to think it's older, like as old as I am. So that's nice.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad it makes you feel good because apparently he's the exact same age as me. So which makes sense.
You're gonna have to get used to the fact that time just keeps moving forward. All you get is older.
I know. I'll let you know when I embrace it. So
I thought this album had a much more digestible sound. It's amazing how a primarily power chord driven band can sound both so basic and also so groundbreaking. Think punk and alternative, occasionally taking downers, memorable and more solid than their debut, even if I wouldn't list it among the greatest albums of all time. When this album gets it right, it's a fucking home run. And I do feel like stuff on this CD might grow on you more than the other albums. Anyway.
Moving on to our next album.
We're recording at a distance, y'all.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know we were saying it. Yeah.
I don't have a problem saying it.
Nobody has corona. At least as far as I know. Shane, do you have corona?
No, I was vaccinated. I do not have corona. I could still be a carrier, technically.
Yeah.
So. My wife is very pregnant, and
yes,
we're beginning to worry.
We're doing it to keep Megan and Jenny, Shane's daughter, safe. So we have this capability, so we thought, hey, we might as well use it. So being able to see you is the craziest thing.
Yeah, can't see the dumb fucking expressions on our faces that somehow communicate. Move on, dipshit.
Anyway, moving on to our next album. Speaking of pregnant women, it's In Utero from 1993. This was my middle album. This
was also my middle album, obviously.
Yeah. Obviously, because we're only covering 3 albums.
Yeah, we get to the third. It's like there's no surprise anymore.
I wonder what it is. We're making it simple for the listeners. I don't think anyone's going to complain.
There it is.
Anyway, I gave it 2 5s.
I gave it 3.
We've been pretty close.
Yeah.
This whole time with 5s. My top track is Heart-Shaped Box.
All apologies.
And my bottom track is Tourette's.
Serve the servants.
Hey, just 1 minute. Can you hear me getting notifications?
No.
Okay, just making sure. I don't know who the hell.
Is your computer just dinging like crazy?
Yes, I don't know who the hell thought it was a good idea.
Sending you videos since she can't come into the office and show you the videos. My bottom track was Serve the Servants.
Okay. All right. Well, what I want to say about this album is it seemed more of a tired, sad effort to put something out there. Still a valiant effort, but music and vocals seem stressed. And something that just kind of put me a little bit more into Cobain's mindset. When this album was released, the original title of the album by Cobain's choice was supposed to be I Hate Myself and I Want to Die. So if that wasn't an indicator of things to come, I don't know what is.
That's a kick-ass album title.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So he actually, as most of you know, Cobain committed suicide in April of 94. So
Allegedly.
And you could go down the rabbit hole, but I'm going to go with what was reported. And this album came out a year before he allegedly committed suicide. So, yeah, I found out the original name of this album and I was just, straight to the gut. It's like, damn.
I can see why. I thought that the songwriting was getting more technical here, but wasn't as polished. had some mediocre choruses. Each album definitely feels unique to me now, but this isn't as good as Nevermind, probably on purpose. Sadly, it was to be their last release for the reasons that you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
While we are talking about the demise of Kurt Cobain, he apparently shot himself with a shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
yeah, a lot of people think Courtney had something to do with that.
Yeah,
like I said, maybe we're not going to travel down the rabbit hole. They were also doing a lot of drugs.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I think there's a lot of information out there that points to he was doing better and trying to do better. I don't fall into the camp of people who think that he did not kill himself, but it's always struck me as really interesting. There's a song by Hole called Northern Star that Courtney wrote, and I don't know if it's meant to sound like a confession, but that's the way it comes across to me. It's probably my love of that cover he did of the Leadbelly song on the New York Live album. What's it? Good God. I have a version of this song on YouTube. I can't think of the fucking name of it. Where Did You Sleep Last Night? They talk about In the Pines, and there's some lyrical similarities in Northern Star, and just some of the lines in that song just really is like, oh God, did you actually kill your husband?
Yeah, I was gonna say, did Courtney pull an OJ like if I did do it, if I did it, if I did do it, this is how I would have done it. Like, dude, stop, just stop.
Rich people, I swear.
Anyway, other things that I thought was interesting is Nirvana's original names included Pen, that's P-E-N, and Fecal Matter. My dad thinks that there was a missed opportunity there.
I'm sure he does. They could have put pictures of their turds on the album covers. Yeah. Come on. You could have
even kept the baby on the Nevermind album and just put like a floating turd, and it still would have stuck to the shtick.
Such a classy show we run here.
Yeah. They were constantly accused of plagiarism.
Really?
Yes, constantly. I would be able to give you some examples, but the person that wrote out my notes only gave me a little tiny spot for notes.
I'm sorry about that.
So I'm going to let you do your own investigating on that one. And another cool thing is Nevermind spent 252 weeks on Billboard's top 200 albums. It knocked off Jackson's Bad album, and that was pretty momentous at the time.
This is one of those albums, a lot like Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. It's always going to be a bestseller. It may not make charts, but if you go to places like Amazon and you're looking at their bestsellers, there are certain albums that are almost always on there, and Nevermind is definitely one of those albums.
Yeah. After Cobain's first experience on SNL, it's funny that we were talking about SNL earlier. Yeah, he overdosed on heroin and almost died.
Man.
And I don't know about you, but my favorite member of Nirvana is
Dave Grohl.
It's Dave Grohl. He is a wonderful human being.
He was their drummer. He is now the lead guitarist, songwriter, singer for Foo Fighters.
Foo Fighters.
Yep.
Yeah, he's just a great guy. I think I fell more in love with who he is as a person, or at least what we perceive him as, rather than music, although he's incredibly talented. But he just seems like a really good guy. So
I would agree.
Yeah.
Wanted to mention that Evanescence had a live version, a cover of Heart Shaped Box that they did. It's really good. If I can find it on YouTube, I'll put it on mentions. I'm going to throw my Where Did You Sleep rendition on the YouTube mentions as well. It's actually me playing it live on a guitar. So if you want to see that, you can. I kind of wrote a chorus for it and tried to make it a little more cohesive.
For shits and giggles, would you also mind throwing the appearance on SNL by Nirvana? I'm curious to see it.
Yeah, I can do that.
Sweet.
Maybe I'll find a video from the live album as well, MTV Unplugged in New York, which remains my favorite thing that Nirvana ever did.
Yeah.
Just because it really did. It took the heavy sounds and it really made them into what I think their strong suit would have been, which oddly is this acoustic set, because his voice was really designed to strike emotional chords. And I think that's easier to do in an acoustic setting than it's going to be in punk. But what the fuck do I know?
Would you say Cobain's vocals is the standout for Nirvana?
I don't really think that they have a standout. His vocals are unique. You definitely know when you're hearing him. But they had a style in every element of their music. I know why this band is so big, and I wish that I loved them more than I do. Maybe if they had gone longer, they would have done great things. I'm almost happy things went the way they did because I love the Foo Fighters.
Yes. I feel like we're running into another Jeff Buckley situation, like gone so soon. It's almost a shame that you don't know what would have become of them.
Yeah.
But I can definitely agree. I love Foo Fighters too. I don't know what I would do if I didn't live in a world without Foo Fighters. So
the last of my notes here, before we move on, I wrote that the power chord band comment that I made earlier was not a knock. Cobain's stylings are surprisingly intricate at times, so he's not just playing power chords, it's all the things that he does in between. It is just, sometimes it really is otherworldly. The lyrics are a definite highlight in many places. The problem with this listen is I fell in love with almost nothing that I didn't already know. So you come into this thinking you're going to find new things, and I know it's only 3 CDs and they've been played around me since I was a kid, but you still hold out hope that you're gonna be like, yes, I'd never heard this. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
Last thing is check out the Kurt Cobain Journals book for an experience unlike any other. They literally photocopied his journals into a book. Allegedly. Anyway, you ready to take a break?
Yeah, I could go for a break.
Let's do it.
And I lost count.
Oh, you're actually counting?
What else am I supposed to do? I can't see you.
I don't know.
Damn, man. I got a song. I got a song recommendation.
What's your song recommendation?
Love Is on the Way by Saigon Kick. My dad showed me this song.
Your dad showed me this song as well.
Yeah, and it grows on you like a fungus or some sort of life-sucking parasite.
You might actually know this song from somewhere in your memory banks, listeners. And I'm trying to remember if this is the one that sounds like something else at the beginning, like the guitar riff sounds like another song. I'll listen to it and come back next time with that.
Yeah, that's your homework. But Saigon Kick, Love Is on the Way. You can find it on my Spotify under song recommendations. So check it out if you don't want to go looking for it yourself. It's there. So look for Rayburn Alexander and you'll find all my shit. Shane, do you have any song recommendations or plugs?
I do. My song recommendation is a song called As I Watch the Sun, Fuck the Ocean. And the group is called Boy Hits Car. This is a song with some heavy Coheed and Cambria vibes alongside a super spacey chorus. I discovered this song from my brother-in-law, Joseph. He and I are going to be starting a YouTube show in the very near future, so get ready for something completely different than anything else we've ever done before. Something I've been tossing around behind the scenes pretty much since Rated Radio started.
Oh, yeah. He's telling the truth.
You'll be on the show at some point, no doubt. So act slightly excited here, Rayburn.
Yay! If you don't care to see Shane or Joseph, I'll be on every so often, so be waiting for that.
We did our first test shoot last night.
No way!
Oh, I think we're ready to go.
All right.
What about a plug? Do you have a plug?
Check out Man Shits Brick. Wasn't that the name of the band?
Boy Hits Car. I thought that was a real thing. Like, here she
Man
goes.
Shits Brick.
I was genuinely excited. Like, what the fuck is this she's talking?
You know me, always giving out that false hope and excitement.
All right. Here's a challenge for listeners out there. The strangest things you can think of, send them to us. Strangest YouTube videos, strangest songs. I want to hear what the fuck y'all have got that maybe I haven't heard. And Rayburn wants the exact opposite of this because she knows it's going to be part of her life in a big way. So send that shit to me.
I was literally about to say, Shane, I'm scared.
You should be.
I'm terrified. But yeah, show us what you got. I guess.
My plug for the week. Well, no. Did you have a plug or were you just bullshitting because you don't have a plug?
I was just bullshitting you. Listen to Man Shits Brick.
Yeah.
God, I hope somebody Googles that or YouTube's it.
I'm going to search for it on YouTube just to see. It'll probably be a video of your dad. The
God,
turd photographer himself.
Yes.
Oh,
man.
I think this COVID vaccine is killing me. Ugh.
Shut up.
I posted my picture of my vaccine card and somebody commented, "Can I come to your funeral?" What? It's a vaccine.
Okay.
Oh
my God.
Education is a beautiful thing.
All right.
So my plug for the week is the Crystal Kyle and Friends podcast. Two of my favorite political commentators decided to start a podcast together. If you want to hear takes on current events from people who I genuinely almost never disagree with, you can't go wrong with Crystal Ball and Kyle Kalinske. These two are part of my daily YouTube routine, so I'm grateful there's even more of them to be heard on podcast platforms now. And their guests so far have been unreal. Again, that's the Crystal Kyle and Friends podcast. Do you know you can follow podcasts on Spotify?
I did know that. I follow Anna Faris's podcast, the Ear Biscuits podcast. We got a follower on Instagram. It's the Sand Pit podcast. And I've told you about this podcast, and this is not me promoting them, but all they do every episode is discuss a different Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And I got really curious, so I follow them on Spotify just because, I want to stay up to date with the current Adam Sandler events.
You probably do.
I'm a fan of Adam Sandler.
I'm a fan as well. Let's not knock Adam Sandler here.
No, I'm a bigger fan of his. I love his serious work. Like I loved Punch Drunk Love.
Me too.
But I love early Sandler too.
Yeah, I wish comedians got more serious drama roles. I tend to really, really like that.
Yeah, I mean, think about Will Ferrell did really good in his serious role. I think it was Stranger Than Fiction. Steve Carell, Dan in Real Life, and like Robin Williams with 24-Hour Photo.
Man, Robin Williams had quite a few actually.
I know you like Good Will Hunting.
There's also Dead Poet Society. And What Dreams May Come is fantastic. The main one that sticks out in my head for serious drama performances, like if there's a highlight, it's always going to be Jim Carrey in Eternal Sunshine.
Yeah. People would even say that The Truman Show was really, I think that comedians, they have to have like a broad understanding of human emotion. And I think that they can tap into those serious, more heartfelt roles easier because they're comedians.
If you want to have... I'm sorry.
You're fine. I feel like they hold that level of melancholy in a place that they can access it whenever they feel like it easier. Does that make sense?
I think it's probably more concentrated in people like that because they're so used to expressing a range of emotions that makes other people feel good, even if they don't feel good.
Yeah.
I can relate to that sometimes. I sound like a sad sap. But
No. Trust me, I completely get where you're coming from.
If you want to have it's the second time I've done that. I keep thinking you're done.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
If you want to, while we're talking about Jim Carrey, a pretty mind-blowing experience, potentially life-altering experience is watching that documentary on Netflix. I think it's Jim and Andy, The Great Beyond, something like that.
Yes.
I probably watched that 3 times in a row.
Good.
The first time I saw it. Anyway, we are way off base and rambling. Let's move on to our next artist after we roll some little break music, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Okay.
Act like you've been here before.
Fuck you.
All right, Shane.
It's got to be the only time in life that anyone's ever just going to say fuck you to somebody else. And then there's just a bunch of silence after. You just imagine like your great-great-grandmother clutching her pearls. How dare you, sir?
She is a lady. Newsflash, Grandma. No, I'm not. Anyway.
Oh, no, she is not. Our second musical artist was...
Creed. Yep. The first album that we covered by Creed was My Own Prison from 1997. This was my top album.
This was my bottom album.
Oh.
And before we get too far into this, they have 4 albums, and the one that I cut was Human Clay. I don't want to explain my reasoning, but we will cover it eventually in some sort of special, so don't get your panties in a twist. Anyway, your top album, my bottom album.
I gave it 4 5s.
I gave it the same amount.
My top track was My Own Prison.
Torn.
And my bottom track was Sister.
Mine was Pity for a Dime. I thought I had a bland chorus.
What I want to say about this album is it seemed like they were establishing their iconic sound. The vocals definitely stand out. Since I believe his name was Scott. I can't remember his last name, but...
Stapp.
Scott
Stapp.
That's right. He's still making music as a single artist. So I don't know if that's something, if you like Creed, that may be something that you want to check out.
This is one of those people that my mother-in-law could tell you the lead singer's name, but she can't name the band.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, Betty.
Music trivia is always hilarious around her.
So random. I say that, and my mom thinks every band that we listen to while playing the music guessing game is the J. Gauls band, so I'll just shut up.
Yes, she does.
Yeah.
She'll get a Bobby Brown check, though.
Oh, yeah, that's true. If it's not some R&B shit or like some 70s shit, everything is the J. Giles band. So
I thought this album was mostly 4s beyond the radio hits, so that's a good thing. This album has such memorable guitar work and thoughtful lyricism, but those alone don't always equate to desirable listens. A lot of the Stone Temple Pilots and Soundgarden influences are obvious here. Felt like they were still struggling to find their own identity as a band. Classic album, though, feels maybe like the end of grunge.
Okay.
It just really felt like the end of an era for me when this album rolled around.
And what would you categorize them as? What genre?
That's kind of what I was getting at. This.
Oh, okay. Sorry for jumping the gun.
No, I mean, maybe what it is that their first album sounds slightly different than the rest of their discography does in a lot of ways. So they changed their sound somewhat. I think they were just finding their own path. Okay. But it felt less like the 90s and all of that. You could definitely tell when you went from the 90s to the 2000s musically with bands like this. That's for damn sure. Okay.
Let's head into the 2000s for our next album, which was Weathered from 2001. This was my middle album.
Same.
I gave it 4 5s.
8 5s.
Wow. And my top track was One Last Breath.
My Sacrifice.
And my bottom track was Freedom Fighter.
Mine was Signs. Thought the guitar was just a little too simple in that song for this band.
They leaned more... Sorry, go ahead. It's just, I'm going to get used to this. We're going to be pros at this.
It's different.
It is. But it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be truthfully honest.
I'd like if I could hear myself in the headphones and you could hear yourself in your headphones, but whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Go ahead with what you were saying.
I thought this album was brighter and stronger in more places than the My Own Prison album, but still plagued by bits of mediocrity. The album clearly sought a high degree of musical variety, but failed to tighten all of the individual pieces. Most of this is great, though. Who's Got My Back should have cut the intro. Otherwise, it's probably one of the best songs on the album. Bad album art, by the way. It just looks like you're watching some really early CGI cartoon or something. It's just
Is this
bad.
the tree?
Yeah.
The tree one? Okay.
The same. You could say the same about the Human Clay album, the one we didn't cover.
Yeah.
The guitar still shines here above everything else. The guitar work is phenomenal.
I said that they leaned in more to the religious influence, which came from Scott's, I believe his stepfather was like a Pentecostal preacher. So anyway, so that's a thing. They have catchier songs to fit the top 100 for this album, and it's stuck to the same basic formula that we heard in the previous album, in my opinion. It was just the influences were a little different.
Yeah. what I know about, or not what I know, what I remember hearing about Scott's religious path was, and maybe that's why the music becomes so different, is I think when they released their original album, he was very on the fence as to whether or not he believed in any sort of higher power or authority. And then beyond that, almost everything is much more, I'm cemented in whatever my faith is. It's not, it's almost never punching you in the face, crazy religious. So I don't listen to the majority of this music and think religion. Some people do. I love when they can walk a fine line like that.
I would consider them like borderline, like Christian rock, like a lot more Christian rock nowadays.
Yeah.
Not like the general sound, but like tiptoeing that fine line that we discussed in past episodes.
Definitely not in disagreement there.
Yeah. So the next album that we covered was Full Circle from 2009. Surprise, surprise. This is my bottom album.
This was my top album.
I gave it 2 5s.
9 5s.
My top track was Rain.
I was torn between On My Sleeve and Time.
And my bottom track was Bread of Shame.
Good fight.
All right. So this reminds me of a lot of different popular artists from the time. It's consistent, but more rock. But it wasn't as consistent as the previous albums that we covered.
Okay. My notes say that the guitar often takes a turn toward metal here, but doesn't lose its complexity as a result the way it has previously. Normally, if they go for a darker sound on prior albums, the guitar becomes more just basic power chord type sound. You don't get as much of that here. The flaw of this outing is some occasionally noticeable lyrical repetition. The lyrics are wildly moving in places. I think this is their most consistent release to date as far as cohesive sound goes. The sound that they achieve here reminds me much more of Flaw, the band Flaw, than anything else. It's like a marriage of their early sound with their newer sound, and it's still just as complex, and the emotional tracks are just, they're a punch in the throat.
I noticed you talked about lyrics and what they wrote. Did you know that Scott, who's the lead singer, and Mark, who's the guitarist, wrote all of their music?
Yeah.
So they wrote all of their own shit.
Yeah, you can definitely tell.
I thought that was interesting because we don't run into a lot of artists that write their own music. So
we don't?
I mean, I mean, we have run into it. I just don't think we run into it enough. And maybe that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like most of the people we cover do quite a bit of their writing. What I notice about this is sometimes take Jeff Lynne from ELO.
Oh,
I'm not gonna harp on
this. Let's go ahead and bring up
because
ELO
again. I was not hating that experience at all. I liked it far more than I thought I would. But a lot of times what you run into is a writer is good at one or two things. Or even if they are showing other people what they're supposed to play in places, they don't get maybe the drums right or the bass. I like Creed. I like their sound. It's not something I always want to listen to. I wore the hell out of it when it was popular. So I was not anticipating this album, by the way. I never thought there would be another Creed album. Full Circle took me completely by surprise 8 years after Weathered came out. And I thought, this is going to be garbage. And it's not garbage. I like it more every time I hear it.
Can we talk about how in 2011, Billboard named them the 18th best artist of the 2000s? But in 2013, only 2 years later, Rolling Stone readers ranked them as the worst band of the 1990s.
This is part of why I have so much trouble taking this stuff seriously. I get you're trying to sell magazines, and it is good to poll people and have opinions. It's just, I think as humans, there's something about us that wants to be entertained by calling something terrible.
Yes.
Like, this was really, really good. And then 5 years later, are you still on that train? I can't listen to that shit anymore.
And then they kind of guilt shame everyone into liking what they want to like. Yeah, it's a shame that public perception has turned them into a well-hated meme of a band, because they definitely have some good stuff to offer that some people are missing out on.
Yeah. And talk to just about any guitarist, though. This band is never in the meme category. Their guitar work is phenomenal. I wanted to mention that sometimes they sound like Three Doors Down in a way. They have that southern Three Doors Down. Sometimes it's similar to Godsmack.
Yeah.
The difference here is they have stronger melodies. It's not to say that one's better or worse than the other, because I think they all bring something to the table. I'd like to see the track Fear featured in a music video game. I think that would really be cool. I mentioned earlier that the bass and the drums don't really take away from stuff too much, but the bass can get lost and the drums can be fairly predictable at times. I'm talking a lot. Are you all through your notes?
No. What I wanted to say is, that album art that you love so much, the album art that was done in Kid Pics?
Yes.
That was all done by the guitarist's brother.
That makes sense.
If he's listening, he's probably not very happy with either one of us.
Sorry.
Right now.
Sorry. If I could say a positive thing about it, I know what I'm looking at. You could take the band's name off of the album title and I would still know what it was. Just don't forget when you see that sort of thing.
I'm gonna say this word because Toby, one of our listeners, gave me hell about how many times we say it. This album art was cohesively bad. Apparently, we say cohesive a lot, and he's begun tallying it. So, maybe say it just so that he has a tally in this episode.
I think some of what we're looking for here, Toby, is cohesiveness. You really need a cohesive sound to bring it together. I know there are people who are just listening to piano. They don't care about anything else. I want it all to play together pretty well. So if it's cohesive, I like it.
Oh, we're such dicks and I love it. Anyway, last thing I'm going to say is, Shane, when I say the word naked toddler, how does that make you feel?
Like I should close my eyes.
Okay. Good, because apparently Creed thought the same thing because that was their original name. Naked
Toddler?
Yep.
Thank you for picking Creed instead. You would never have been big. Maybe if you were a punk band, Fecal Matter and Naked Toddler would have worked.
Nobody wants to sit there and say, I got to get me some of that Naked Toddler.
Oh my God.
Probably a good idea that they went with Creed.
This music makes me feel... Just gonna roll right past that shit.
Okay.
This music makes me feel like I'm heartbroken and covered in mud. That's a good...
Taking on a cable.
Yeah. Sometimes the sun comes out and hits you. You're still covered in mud, though, and you're sad. Even when the songs are happy. I don't know.
I'm gonna find that video that I just quoted, and I'm going to send it to you so that you can put it up on the mentions playlist.
What video?
It's set to a Creed music video, but instead of them singing the words, they're singing whatever's happening in the music video. So at one point, Scott is in a cave in like a puddle of water, and instead of saying with arms wide open, it says, "Take you out a cave." And it's so stupid, but I just remember watching it.
I feel like I've heard you mention this hundreds of times before, and I don't know why.
I talked about it when Creed was chosen.
Okay.
So
maybe it's just that I've heard the audio of it a bunch and not known what the fuck you were saying. There are plenty of those sorts of videos on YouTube. I think my favorite that I've seen so far, which they do the overdubs where they make the instrumentation really horrible on purpose. Mm-hmm. Like they're banging on trash cans instead of drums to the normal video. But the overdub I like best is Lord doing Royals. Uh-huh. It's just I think they call it like mic only or something, and it's just atrocious. It's not actually her singing. It's just funny.
Okay. I'll put that up on mentions. I want to see
I'll do that.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
The problem with this group is that everyone works around the guitarist, and the results are hit or miss. Once you trim all the fat and concentrate their winners, they make for a solid listening experience. So I hope they keep producing new music. Many 4s were close to being 5s. Again, they're just not being as tight as they need to be. Anyway, did you have anything else you wanted to add to our Creed discussion?
No, after my Naked Toddler comment, I think it's best that I just shut up for a little while.
All right. Well, let's keep it going, maybe, and get to the final half of our list of top one-hit wonders.
Well,
what do you have?
Before we do that, I'm curious to know who won.
I guess we kind of forgot to talk about that, huh?
Yeah, we did. It's okay.
So it should be obvious. Creed was my winner. They almost doubled the amount of 5s that Nirvana got. I hate to say that, but that was the case.
If you were here, you would see my fist pumping. Yeah, Creed took it from me this week too. And that's the reason why I said we were probably going to piss off someone at some point during this episode. So,
well, what happened? I thought you were a Nirvana girl all the way. That's what you said last time.
I'm a fan of flannel, Shane. God, pay attention.
So you were just saying the era? You like grunge?
Just, the vibe, the mood, the vibe I'm all about. No, I mean, I like Nirvana. It was actually really close. The difference of 5s was 1, and I gave Creed a 3.7 and Nirvana a 3.5. So it really wasn't that far apart. It's just, I guess I just dug on what Creed gave me more than Nirvana. I mean, Nirvana kind of struck a chord with a more teenage young adult generation at that time. And that was definitely not where I was at that point.
Yeah.
So
I feel like there's pretty equal odds that I would listen to either of these artists. Could recommend both of them. Just know that there's some stuff you're not going to want to listen to, maybe, if you have my listening taste, which is doubtful because I think the majority of people off the top of their heads would say Nirvana over Creed.
Yeah.
And that's fair. But if you're going by averages or 5s or any of that, it might surprise you to sit down with the music and go about it that way.
This week worked out kind of perfectly as far as like the number of albums to cover, because Creed didn't have that very many to offer, and obviously Nirvana's fame was cut short. So it's nice to know that they were kind of equally matched in the number of albums that they contributed.
Yeah, and both have an additional album that you could go listen to. So for Nirvana, it's the Unplugged, and then we've got Human Clay coming up at some point on the show for Creed. But let's talk about one-hit wonders. What did you have for your 6th pick? My
6th pick is What's Up by Four Non Blondes. It's one of those that, you know what I'm talking about. It's one of those that just stay with you. And at the most random times, you find yourself going, yeah. So, yeah, it's an earworm, and it's not one I'm mad about having. So, there's that. What's your next pick?
Mine is a song called That's Just Jessie by Kevin Denny. Changed the name along with a few details, and this is me to a T when it comes to Callie. I know there are those who think I shouldn't have positive feelings toward my exes, but I can't change the fact that I do. After spending almost the entirety of my first 20 years on this earth without knowing the physical reality of romantic love, I take great comfort in having shared intimate moments with those who've chosen to try for me. I think what's wild about my first tangible love experience is that it's a version of myself I'll never get back. A version no one else can ever have, not even the girl who once had it. My heart was singularly devoted to her, and I wanted that to be all the searching I'd ever have to do, because I suspected my heart would be the haunted kind. Thing is, I'm happy to have the ghosts. My life would be far more disposable, in my opinion, if not for the women who've loved me. So, having positive feelings towards my exes, I think, is a big part of what keeps me going.
Shane, you're so spooky.
Spooky?
Yeah, you're haunted, man. You're so spooky.
That's your word.
It is my word. We're just going to call you haunted instead. How about that?
Yeah.
Haunted can mean a variety of things.
I'm good. You can be spooky and I can be haunted.
Cool. Works out perfectly. Anyway, moving on to my next pick. It's Bittersweet Symphony by The Verve. Not the Verve Pipe. At once upon a time, this was the song that I wanted played when I walked down the aisle. That has since changed, but that doesn't take away the level of appreciation that I feel for this song. Also, since we were talking about movies at the first half of this list, if you want to see a movie that uses this song to its full potential, watch Cruel Intentions. That's a good movie. So
It's surprisingly decent, the movie.
Surprisingly decent? I said it was good.
I know what you said. That's your opinion. I was just giving mine.
Good? Okay.
I could look up exactly what I thought about the movie, but...
Did you write the movie?
Hang on.
Write about it?
I rate everything.
Oh, God.
Let's see here. Quick access. Owned and rated. Hopefully it doesn't get picked up too bad. Let's look.
You're going to crush every hope I have.
Cruel Intentions. I gave it a 3.5, which is decent. 3.75 would be good. Yeah, it's better than just had its moments. I think the majority of that comes from the fact that they use the Counting Crows song.
Colorblind.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good song. That's a good scene, too.
Yeah.
Go to hell, Shane.
That's how you know I'm haunted. I was that kid who used to sit in the living room and play Colorblind on the piano while everyone was asleep.
What's wrong with that?
I want to hate your song pick, by the way.
You want to hate it? And
I want to hate it. It's good. It's not great. There's something about it that I don't know. I've never been a big fan.
Well, it's good that they didn't have anything else to contribute, but that's what makes them a one-hit wonder.
Just their one hit.
Yes, and it was a hit. Moving on to your next pick,
oh,
Shane.
Why do I even try to talk shit or share an opinion? Because then I have to look at my own list. Okay. Next on my list is Donkey Butt by 12 Gauge.
God, this could not have come at a better time in our list.
God damn it. Okay.
Continue, please. I encourage it.
When Jay and I left for Tennessee, my sisters gave me a CD for us to listen to on the drive. Among those tracks was a recording of me singing the intro to this song. Like a goober, fully a cappella, unaware that I was being recorded. Suffice it to say that this coming on during that drive was one of the more embarrassing moments of my life. Also one of the moments for which I'm most grateful. Shit like that allows me to say that my sisters are cooler than yours. Proof positive right here. But that's to the general world, because I love Alyssa.
Yeah,
that's your sister.
Yes. I love my sister too. What are you implying that I don't?
I literally said, lets me say my sisters are cooler than yours.
Oh. Well.
So I did not want Alyssa taking offense. So
maybe she'll up her game.
I don't know. I feel different about cousins, I think, than a lot of people do. I feel more like your siblings, but...
Like, we're your siblings?
Yeah. Like, the majority of my cousins, I think of them as siblings.
Well, your son calls me Aunt Rayburn.
Yeah.
Which I did not start, but I will definitely roll with it. So.
What's your next pick?
Sorry. My next pick, speaking of Courtney Love and Marilyn Manson, earlier in the episode, it's You Get What You Give by New Radicals. It's another one that sticks with you. And I say Courtney Love and Marilyn Manson because for those of you that know the song, they talk about them in the song. So they also talk about Hanson, if anyone cares, and Beck. So
I've clearly never paid attention to the lyrics. I know it's on one of those music games that we play, probably Guitar Hero. I like the song.
They're throwing massive shade at Beck, Courtney Love, Marilyn Manson, and Hanson. So yeah.
I actually want to say that one's on one of those music games I actually got the platinum on. I think it's when the people who did Guitar Hero tried to do a full band game.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what they called it, but one of the things in that song was you had to sing, like you had to get so many stars singing the songs.
Yeah.
And I wasn't about to be able to do that. But there was a glitch where you could just put a microphone in front of a fan.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so that's what I did.
I was going to say, did you take advantage of that opportunity?
Well, yes, I did. I'm about to get my 100th platinum trophy, by the way, on Worms Rumble.
I was going to say, is it on Worms?
A game that, for some reason, nobody will play with me. It was free on PlayStation Plus, and nobody's gotten on to play with me, except for my wife, who is also playing the game.
It's not that I won't play with you. We downloaded it. I just have my hands full at the moment. I have 3 toddlers running around the house.
It looks like a Worms game. It plays more like Call of Duty.
Yeah.
It's stupid fun. Anyway, what's your next pick?
I'll get to my next pick, but for those listening, no, I don't have 3 toddlers. Oh. I'm talking about my parents and my sister running around my house. So.
And you also just did your pick. I'm the one that's lagging here.
Yeah. Way to go.
Next for me is Got You Where I Want You by The Flies. The first time you have sex with someone new, it's usually mediocre at best. There's just so much unfamiliarity. Plus, we've been conditioned to think it's got to be perfection or it doesn't count. And that's complete bullshit. But still, my first hookup with someone was once so good that we were a declared couple by the next morning. This song makes me think of that night. Sometimes two people are just in the same headspace, nursing a desire for sensual vulnerability to the point that it feels like the stars just aligned. Shame they didn't align for longer. Not sure I ever would have tired of that night of the flying cats, but hey, at least it happened at all.
My next pick.
I don't know why I write some of this shit. I'm sorry.
Why are you apologizing?
I don't know. It felt really weird. There was no comment or anything that time. You're just like, my next pick is...
Well, we've talked about this. I derail conversations, and I'm trying to be better about it.
Okay. I apologize for interrupting you then.
I was going to make a joke about, you said the flying cats.
Yeah.
I said I was going to make a joke about how, you wished all that pussy would be flying around just a little bit longer. But I didn't, because I didn't want to derail the conversation. And look at me derailing the conversation.
All right. Compliment before we move on. That would have been a very good joke.
Well, then leave it in the episode.
I'm going to. What's your next pick? Good God.
Next pick for me is Ocean Avenue by Yellowcard. Here comes my long, extravagant story. I used to play this all the time. I like this song. What's your next pick?
That's all we're gonna go for that one?
That's it. I played it all the time. I liked it.
I wondered about this because I couldn't actually see your top 10 list, but I did see you listening to this song, and I wondered.
You tried to cheat.
Well, no, everybody. Yeah, I did.
You totally did.
I don't want us duplicating picks. That's really what it is.
I don't get to see your list.
We wouldn't be able to here. What I'm trying to say is I don't think of Yellowcard as a one-hit wonder.
I don't either. But I didn't know if it was because they were on my radar and they weren't on other people's. Another song that I really liked by them is Only One.
Yeah, Raven, that was a massive hit.
I know, okay. But I didn't know I was the only person listening to it that I knew, really.
Well, I'll forgive you this time because you were in Milford.
I'm so glad you have granted me your forgiveness.
What's funny is I made my picks not based on looking at things and whether or not they were actually one-hit wonders. It's just what I think of as one-hit wonders too. So I'm not knocking you. That's one that definitely I wouldn't categorize it. Great song.
That one was the one that I was on the fence about, if I'm being honest, but I stand by my selection.
Hey, it's a top 10 list and you've got a song that you really love on it. That's all that matters.
Yeah. What's your next pick?
Is I Can't Wait by New Shoes. My last Best Friend experience felt like something pulled directly out of that I Love You Man film.
Yeah.
My wife's brother and I had a lot of ridiculous fun together before he moved to Japan. This song's here because it reminds me of when he was living with us in Dallas. At one point, we'd gotten drunk without a crowd of people around and wound up putting together a mix of songs too infectious to not dance to. This was on there. We planned to throw a shindig at which we'd reveal ourselves as the old school DJs, rocking everyone's worlds with the greatest set list that ever was. We called it XXX Super Sex. If you experienced it, congrats, because you're among the few. We never did throw said party. The night probably just ended with us passing out after eating Whataburger. Still, miss seeing that fucker every day.
Aww, I miss him too.
What's next?
I check in with him ever so often just to see what they're up to.
Yeah, you're better about that than I am. That's why I don't have any friends.
You have your wife. I mean, you're close enough. You know what's going on. But
what a nice way to say, yeah. You don't have any fucking friends.
Well, I mean, we started messaging each other right before, which he and I talked a couple of times at that point, but like in person before he moved to Japan. But when Blue and I were looking at our trip to Japan, I wanted to get a hold of the experts. So I messaged him. You're
better about dealing with any form of communication. I can be really good in person about conversing with folks.
Yeah.
I don't mind texting so much. It's just, there's something in the way of disconnect there. I think a big part of my problem comes from working for so many years in customer service and answering phones and talking to people all day long who don't want to be on the phone. Like the last fucking thing I want to do at the end of the day is talk.
Yep.
So if I do talk to you or I do pick up your phone calls, congratulations. You're an interesting fucking person.
Oh, yay. I'm interesting. I can't wait for that customer service episode to come.
Oh, I used to try to get recordings of the worst phone calls So, but that was way back in the day before I had actually experienced really, really bad phone calls.
Like customer service calls?
Yeah.
And you would record them?
No, most places that you work, everything is recorded. Every phone call, every keystroke. They'll usually screenshot your screen every 10 seconds that you're doing anything. Yeah.
You're got, like, lots of anxiety.
You're almost always under a microscope at places. So, but
I'm going to move on to my next pick because I'm about to spiral out of control.
Yeah, go ahead.
My last pick for this list is Face Down by Red Jumpsuit Apparatus. Shane, you might not know this story, although you might because you've known me a long time and bitches be talking a lot.
Somebody beat the shit out of you?
No, not this time. We were on our way to a birthday party for Blue's nephew, Gage. We were going to that Ready Player One, I think. Anyway, you know what that place is. We've gone together. Anyway, while we were traveling in Blue's car or truck, I can't remember.
Hold on.
I was singing this. Sorry. I was singing. Shut up.
Pause. You were not talking about the film or the book. You were talking about the gaming arcade where you can also get drunk.
Yes,
the gaming arcade for adults where they let you get completely fucking trashed.
Yes, I totally was talking about that.
If you're a listener and you ever see one of those places, I don't care what you're doing, stop and go in there. Even if you're hungry, stop and go in there. They'll feed you food. And then you'll have the best time of your life.
I'm so glad you had such a good time.
And
That's not sarcasm.
When you took your nephew...
It's all... Okay, kids can go before 9, and I didn't take my nephew. His parents did.
I wasn't judging you, Rayburn. I was trying to work you back to your story.
Okay,
when you were taking your nephew...
We weren't taking my nephew. It was just me and Blue in the vehicle.
Oh.
Get the details right. We were meeting them, but we were on our way, and I have a tendency to get pretty litty lit fam in the passenger seat when we're driving down the road. And this song came on, and yeah, it was an experience for Blue. So much so that he took his eyes off the road for a split second, and we ran into somebody's back of their car. So, fun times.
I'm sorry. I'm not even thinking about the wreck. I'm thinking about the fact that you said, I can get pretty litty lit, fam.
I said that because you said it during the Tom McDonald episode, and it stuck with me. Litty lit, lit is lit, fam. Litty lit. So, anyway, yeah, you won't be able to listen to this song probably the same, but nobody was hurt. Everyone was fine. But I can't listen to this song ever again without thinking, yeah, my stupid ass distracted Blue enough to get into a tiny fender bender in traffic one day. So anyway, that's it from me. So
always
anticlimactic.
Damn.
Always wrecking. Yep. I ruin things. What can I say?
Exactly what you said.
What can I say?
Next,
your last pick.
Yes, is a song called Goddamn You're Beautiful by Chester C. I don't know that Chester's had any official hits. Fans would likely say he's had many, but this is the only original from him that I really know as a hit. This is me selfishly calling the song a one-hit wonder in order to share it with listeners. I also put this here so I could mention how odd it feels that so much of what we think or feel goes unsaid. Societal pressures keep me expressing maybe a max of 5% of what goes through my head. I long to remind people how beautiful and talented and worthwhile they are, but I refrain. I think most of us do, and that's really sad. The kind of truth we should normalize changing. Easier said than done, I realize, but we need to be better to one another, and that's going to involve being more vulnerable, more open, and somehow I got that out of Goddamn You're Beautiful by Chester C.
Is Chester C the lead singer of Linkin Park? Was that him?
No.
Who's
No,
Chester
you're
C?
thinking of Chester Bennington. I'm pretty sure what's his name? Chester C. He's a YouTuber. He does a lot of music and stuff on YouTube. I think they did comedy videos and such for a while too, but as we know from Lil Dicky, I don't ever watch that shit. Here for the good music.
I know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
I'm not. What is it? I think I got into Mind the Diamond for a minute.
By Tobuscus? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You should
That's
listen
as close as I come.
Oh, I don't know why I'm telling you to listen to this. He does a version of Get Bloody. Remember when the game Happy Wheels was a thing?
What the fuck? You should listen to Get Bloody. Do you remember when Happy Wheels?
Okay. The music video to Get Bloody It's a play on Get Lucky by Daft Punk. It's called Get Bloody, and it's like Mind the Diamond, but him and his son are in the game Happy Wheels.
I think for the first time, our YouTube mentions playlist is going to be populated with more strange things than our Spotify mentions playlist. Let's move on to drawing our next artist, shall we?
All right. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, you know.
So here's the normal jam jar.
Yeah,
let's see what we get.
It's not in my possession.
Yeah, and I'm not cheating or anything. I'm pulling as quickly as I can. Tech 9.
Oh, God damn it. All right.
So we've got Tech 9 and then the listener jam jar.
Shane's pissing himself, and I'm glad I'm not there to witness it.
I'm pissing myself trying to figure out which albums I'll pick.
Yeah.
Because he has a fucking ton of them. So the next one we haven't seen for a while. This was recommended by Lena. Thank you for all of the recommendations. It's DeBarge.
DeBarge?
Yep. Versus Tech 9.
I quit.
You quit?
I'm done. I quit.
So correct me if I'm wrong.
Kidding.
Wasn't there a 90s group
named DeBarge?
Called DeBarge, or did the old group just change their name and their sound completely?
I'm thinking of the 90s group DeBarge.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the 70s group that we're talking about. Maybe I'll ask for clarification.
Yeah, please do, so we know which direction we're headed in.
Tune in next week for Tech 9 versus DeBarge. We're not sure which DeBarge yet, but we'll get there. Maybe we'll just
70s?
cover them both to be on the safe side.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. We could just flip a coin.
No, I think the 90s group may not have enough music to be here, so it may end up being the old school group.
Okay.
But
either way, I'm sure
it
it'll be an interesting week.
It does inspire me list-wise, but you'll have to tune in next time to see what I've come up with.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, I don't want to take up any more of our listeners' time. So that's going to do it for this week. Hit up our playlist to hear all the songs we talk about. Get our full ratings, t-shirts, and bonus episodes at teespring.com/ratedradio. And guide what we listen to by suggesting new artists for our jam jar. You can even send us voice messages on Facebook for a shot at being on the show. Your support is really what makes or breaks us. So thank you for listening and sharing. And until next time, fill your world with music.
Just remember, you're talented, you're beautiful, you're worthwhile. Unless you aren't.